love those shocks. I just love them. Okay, now I'll tell you about how I adjusted them. Just hang in there. Well, hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, if you remember, on our last video, we installed the Screamin Ohlins remote reservoir shocks on my Road Glide Special. And we removed the stock shocks. Now it was interesting, I had one of my subscribers ask me, what's so bad about the stock shocks? Well, there's nothing really bad about them, but there are, because of the design of the shock, the performance you'll get out of it is limited by the design. Let me show you. Both shocks I have here, and you will note that this shock there's no adjustment at all. Now this one does have a preload adjustment in that you can adjust the tension on the spring. And that's it. So you're adjusting one shock and you're adjusting one component on that shock, the preload. We're not checking our compression dampening or our rebound dampening. So what I'm going to do is show you how we adjust the shocks that we've installed, our Screamin Ohlins. So let's get to the bike and start doing the adjustments. Okay, the first adjustment that we're going to make is adjust the preload. In order to adjust the preload, we need to take 3 measurements. The measurement we have to pick 2 points. I've picked the top of the shock bolt and a point right here directly above. Now, if you're reading the owner's manual, they say immediately above, but I think that's something, just an incorrect word because of translation. What they were referring to is that it should not be at the angle of the shock, it should be vertical. So I picked this point right here, which is directly above here. And now we're going to need 3 measurements. We have to measure with the bike on the lift, where the back wheel is not touching the ground. That will be R1 measurement. Then we have to measure it where the bike is like it is right here, just sitting on its own weight. That's R2. And then we have to measure it where the rider is sitting on the bike. Now, I've already adjusted the preload on the shock, and I had a friend come over and measure this while I sat on the bike. So I'll show you how I did the first 2, but you will need an assistant to get the measurement because it's going to be almost impossible for you to sit on the bike and measure this distance. So we need 3 distances. The one to measure the free sag, the static sag, and rider sag. So since the bike is sitting here like this, we'll take this measurement right here, right now. By the way, in the owner's manual, they use metric measurements. Now, I don't have a metric tape, so we have to remember that 1 inch is 25.4 millimeters. So the first measurement I have is exactly 12 inches when the bike is sitting just on its own weight. The next thing I'll do is jack up the bike and get the other measurement. See, the lights are flashing. I didn't have the fob in my pocket, but I do now. So we're okay. So I now have the wheel off the floor. And we have 12.5 inches. So I'll take it back off the lift. I really can't get without an assistant, at least not accurately. As you can see, I put it there. It is 11.5 inches. So our three measurements, we have 11.5 inches when the rider is on the bike. And by the way, I'm 205 pounds. We have the measurement where the bike is sitting like this, the static sag. And we have the measurement when there's no weight on that wheel at all. The sag, according to the owner's manual, should be between 25 millimeters and 35 millimeters. And that is the distance between R1 and R3. So we had 11.5 inches when the rider was on the bike, 12.5 inches of measurement when there was nothing on the bike, which left 1 inch. And 1 inch is, as I said, 25.4 millimeters. So according to the owner's manual, the rear should be between 25 and 35 millimeters. Now, if I had a little more weight, that would increase this from 25, like let's say I added my gear and maybe some items in my saddlebag. So there's a range there that will work for you, and that if you add a few pounds of weight or luggage, you don't have to constantly adjust the sag, because there is an acceptable range between 25 and 35 millimeters. However, if you do put a passenger on your bike and increase the weight, or maybe add a tour pack, then what you have to do is, if you need to increase the preload or decrease the preload, we have these adjustment tools. There's a screw right here. You will need a screwdriver to loosen this screw. And then once you've loosened the screw, install that into the holes, and you pull it clockwise to tighten it and increase the tension on the spring, or counterclockwise to expand the spring and decrease the preload. So if you've got heavier weight, you will need to increase the preload. Just try it a click or two at a time. Don't make any major changes. And until you have it so that it's in the acceptable range, no matter what the load, it should be between 25 and 35 millimeters. That's the preload adjustment. The other adjustment that you have is your rebound adjustment, which is right here at the bottom, and your compression adjustment, which is over on your reservoir. To adjust your rebound dampening, and I suggest that you adjust your rebound dampening first, and then if you turn this all the way clockwise until it stops, and then turn it back to start with maybe about halfway. And you'll hear the clicks as you do it. There. It's at the end there. You come back 1, and that's at 0. And then there. That's where I had it before. And then adjust that. So don't go back and forth. Do one side at a time. And there's no one right setting. It's for your preference. So once you've adjusted both and make sure both sides are the same, take it for a ride. If you find that your suspension is too stiff, then you may need to just soften it a bit. And if you look at the dial at the back of the reservoir, you'll see an H and an S, which is making it harder or softer. So if you want to do some really aggressive riding, you can tighten up your dampening. And if you want to have a softer ride, maybe you're just going on a long trip, on a tour, and you just want a comfortable, soft ride, then you can soften it. So that's about it. It's a relatively simple thing to do. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. So that's it. I'll put the saddlebag back on. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this little video. And if you did, how about a big thumbs up? And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. I'll notify you when I make the next one. So you take care. Have a great day. Keep shiny side up, rubber side down. Bye-bye.